Voldemort is stupid. Maybe I'm stating the obvious here, but when you dedicate your entire life to achieving immortality but then spend your free time making enemies and chasing down the one boy with the power to kill you, it doesn't exactly scream high IQ, does it? But there was this one time when our friend Voldy actually had a smart idea. I mean, splitting your soul into several tiny pieces and hiding each part in a different object, all of which need to be destroyed in order to kill you, is actually quite smart for someone whose main aim is to avoid dying. That is until you realise that Voldemort is about as good at hiding things as I am at avoiding the bakery section on my weekly shop. So let's have some fun. I'm going to analyse all 7 of Voldemort's Horcruxes by how well they were hidden and rank them from worst to best. Before we get started, please do hit subscribe. This is a brand new Harry Potter channel, so why not jump on board now so in a few years you can say, hey, I was here since the beginning. But with all that out the way, let's jump into our list, starting with number 7, Harry Potter. Yes, Harry himself was of course the one Horcrux that Voldemort never meant to make. And for that same reason, I guess he has to be the worst hidden Horcrux as well, because, well, you can't exactly hide something that you aren't even aware of, can you? Anyway, there's not really anything else to analyse here because of that, so let's just swiftly move on to the 6 Horcruxes that Voldemort did actually mean to make. Number 6 is Nagini. Voldemort's pet snake was arguably his most impressive Horcrux. I mean, this is an actual living creature with a brain that contains parts of Voldemort's soul. Crazy. Anyway, I guess because of that factor, Voldemort never actually tries to hide Nagini. Yes, he does keep Nagini closer to him when he realises the Golden Trio are hunting down Horcruxes, but he never technically hides her, he just keeps her closer to him, I guess, so for that reason she kind of has to go very close to the bottom of this list. In 5th place is Tom Riddle's Diary. Well, we're finally onto the Horcruxes that were actually hidden, so I guess this list can properly get started. However, Tom Riddle's Diary is perhaps the perfect example of how not to hide an object that literally contains a part of your soul. Why? Because Voldemort leaves the diary with Lucius effing Malfoy. Yes, that's right, the cowardly man who's happy to do anything it takes to protect his own skin and shows absolutely zero loyalty to anyone who isn't his own family. Lucius eventually plants the diary in Ginny Weasley's possession as he suspects the Ministry are planning a raid on his house soon. As we all know, this decision to give one of Voldemort's prized possessions to a Hogwarts student is what eventually leads to the diary being destroyed. Talk about a massive stinker from old Voldy. Number 4 is the Gaunt Ring. Voldemort left the Gaunt Ring in a golden box hidden under the floorboards of the Gaunt family shack for decades. In addition, Voldemort added some protective enchantments outside the shack, but that was it. I mean, it's not the worst hiding place ever. I'd imagine that protective enchantments left by Voldemort would be pretty hard to penetrate, and even if you do get through those, you've then got to try and find a tiny golden box in the middle of a ruined shack. Not a piece of cake. But there is one massive issue. He left it in a shack that could be directly linked back to his own ancestors. I mean, sure, this might not seem like a massive issue because how many people actually knew about Voldemort's past? Well, the smartest wizard in the world and the one most likely to want to try and bring down Lord Voldemort, one Albus Dumbledore certainly did. And in the end, it's Dumbledore's insight into Voldemort's family tree which allows him to find and destroy the Horcrux. Number 3, the Diadem of Ravenclaw. Well, there's one reason only why this hiding spot failed. Voldemort's naivety. So, he hid the diadem in the Room of Requirement. On paper, this seems like an incredibly smart idea. Just ask the room for a good place to hide somewhere, and the room will provide. Also, and more importantly, Voldemort believed at that time he was the only person aware of the Room of Requirement's existence. And this was his downfall. You see, what Voldemort failed to realise was that if A, someone found out about the Room of Requirement, and B, realised there was an object in there that they needed to find, the room would also tender to their needs, therefore giving them access to the originally hidden object. Of course, this is exactly what happens, and Harry is able to find and destroy the diadem. Number 2 is Slytherin's Locket. Okay, I think a lot of people would have been expecting this to be in first place, and I understand why. The locket was hidden inside a deep cave, and whilst it did have a slight connection to Voldemort's past, this was very small. And if anyone did make it inside the cave, you'd have to drink a potion that would render the drinker completely unable to actually take the Horcrux, and probably unable to even get out alive. However, as we all know, there was still a major flaw in this plan. You see, the boat inside the cave that takes you to the island holding the Horcrux was only designed to carry one adult wizard. However, there were ways around this. Just because it couldn't carry 2 adult wizards, it doesn't mean that it still couldn't carry 2 people. It could take, for example, an adult wizard and an underage wizard, or an adult wizard, and a house elf. As we know, Regulus Black discovers this and enlists the help of Kreacher to steal the locket. Finally, when dropping off the Horcrux in the first place, Voldemort completely underestimated house elf magic. This was obviously how Regulus originally discovered the locket's hiding place, as Kreacher was sent to help Voldemort drop off the locket, but when Voldemort left Kreacher to die in the cave, Kreacher was able to disapparate out of there. This is then what finally allows the locket to be stolen, as Kreacher disapparates with the locket himself, after himself and Regulus have gone back to take it. Once again, Voldemort's sheer inability to acknowledge the fact that somebody might have magical powers that he himself doesn't have is what ruins the hiding place of yet another Horcrux. And number 1, Hufflepuff's Cup. And our winner, and the best hidden Horcrux, in my opinion of course, is Hufflepuff's Cup. This Horcrux was hidden deep underground in the Lestrange family vault at Gringotts. Now of course this hiding spot wasn't perfect, none of them were. That's kind of obvious given the fact that all the Horcruxes were destroyed. But it did take a very specific, and from Voldemort's perspective, unfortunate series of events for this one's location to be discovered. I mean, how could Voldemort know that a former Gringotts employee would happen to have his life saved by people tracking down Horcruxes who happen to have maybe the one super rare item in the world that this ex-employee desired, and in return for it would help them break into the bank? Also, there was literally no evidence left behind as to where this item was hidden. It was just Bellatrix's slightly panicked reaction when she thinks the Golden Trio had been into her vault at Gringotts to steal the Sword of Gryffindor, which leads them to suspect that there might be a Horcrux in there. Ultimately though, Gringotts was supposedly the safest place in the wizarding world, except maybe Hogwarts of course, and its deepest vaults are incredibly well protected by enchantments and dragons. So on paper at least, this made Hufflepuff's Cup the best hidden Horcrux. And that's my list. Let me know what you think, and please hit subscribe if you enjoyed. We're on that road to 1,000 subs. Thanks for watching everyone.